This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Peterball family farm, hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Preventing cold side oxidation, shelf life of kegged beer, and making a hard seltzer using the new Topo Clone Minerals Kit. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 369. Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you, yes you, I'm talking to you, have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or even better, get your phone out, your landline, get your rotary phone, and dial 325-305-6107 and leave a voicemail or feedback. And when I play that voicemail or feedback, question or feedback on a future episode, you get yourself a $25 gift card to keggconnection.com. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Stubing, and joined as always by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com over there, Mr. James Carlson. My friend, happy Wednesday. I guess I'm lifting the veil. We publish on Thursday, but it's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, my friend.
Thank you.
How are you doing today? You're running the show at headquarters, but you're no stranger to that. We've thrown Todd under the bus numerous times. He actually, though, is on a trip of meaning, not just one I can make fun of him for. He is on his way, well, he's literally on his way to the DFW airport, but he's heading to Kansas City. I always forget They have two offices. Going to FOTS. I'm actually using FOTS's pint glass for my water today from their 2015 catalog, but their headquarters is Kansas City. We went there in December of 2019, had the time of our life, if you remember, went to the World War I Museum.
Oh, yeah.
And
that place was awesome.
The best, the absolute best. It's I tell people all the time, Kansas City is severely underrated. When Todd told me, hey, we're gonna send you to Kansas City, I was like, like us as a trip. I was like, I'm glad to go with you guys, but really Kansas City, like that's the best you can do, dude. And no, but kidding aside, we get there and Fox is incredibly hospitable people. They treated us to, that was the first time I ever had burnt ends. Is that what they call them?
Mm-hmm.
So good. The burnt ends were delicious. I forget the barbecue place they took us to, but it was very good. Don't worry, Pop. It's never going to be as good as your brisket and food and barbecue and all that.
Or Todd's.
Todd's is really good too, but it was stupid good food. And we went to KC Beer, which is an incredibly good German-based craft brewery, and drank till I couldn't remember. And then downtown,
my favorite by far.
Yeah, it was so good. Their lager was incredible. I think they had a Sticky Alt bottled. I just don't remember it. Like it was 2019. It's been a while, guys. Okay, it's been like 5 years. All right, so or not quite, a little over 4 years. But either way, it was a good trip. So Todd's going there because we've been working CM Becker with FOTS a lot to get the products in the hands of installers like our buddy that we had on the show a few weeks ago, Cody Hubertus out of St. Louis. Don't get Kansas City and St. Louis mixed up. I made that mistake. I guess they're cordial, but they're kind of rival cities. And I learned that when we were...
I didn't realize how far away they were.
I didn't either. Yeah, it's like a 3.5 hour drive, I think he was saying. But anyway, so Todd's there working with Cody, and that is a good segue to tell y'all, if you go to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, you can see the latest video we published featuring Mr. Cody Hubertus of Hubertus Beer, showing an install he did at Cugino's in St. Louis, where it was a 12 faucet tower with 6 of them being V10 flow control faucets from Sam Becker, and the other 6 being V3S forward seal non-flow control faucets. All of them have creamer function, which means you pour, you're done, and you want to add more head to it. You push back a little and it gives a refined head to the top of it. But he was showing the installation he did, and he talked a little bit about why on the lawn draw he decided to do that. I put in the description of the video, I think, guys, that it is more aimed towards people looking at commercial installs, but we put it on the Homebrew Happy Hour one because it's super relevant to anyone doing whether it's direct draw or lawn draw at home. Now, obviously, James, lawn draw is going to be much more unlikely for a home installation, but Cody told us you'd be surprised. There are people at home doing lawn draw installations, and I'm doing air quotes for audio listeners because lawn draw can mean 30-foot run, right? It doesn't have to mean a 200-foot run. A lawn draw just means anything that's not directly to the
anything that goes through a trunk line. Yeah. Can you hear that?
No. What am I supposed to be hearing?
Okay. The production room is grinding, so I just want to make sure.
No. Is it Vilver?
Okay, good.
He knows. Uh-huh. They know every time we're recording, and the way I know they know is because it gets extra loud. They're like, yeah, the worst. I actually. Hypothetically, dude, if it was, I've been using a tool that's part of our audio processing. I use just lifting it all. When I edit this stuff, I used to have to go through, and edit's very lightly used here. I used to go through and take out ums and ahs and try to run processes manually or whatever. Now I run it through a thing called Auphonic. I've been doing that for like 4 years, 5 years. And they have a new AI feature. I'm all about AI, James. You know that. I got bit by the bug. It will take out background noise and make it sound like it's just you and me in a room together. It's incredible. So don't worry about it. Yeah. I'm not as mean on outward sounds as I used to be, especially to Todd. He's the king of like leaving his door open or having people working on his yard or something. Just random outside noise. And it used to bother the hell out of me because I'd be like, dude, I don't want to edit the show. I really don't want to. It's not fun. But now I just run it through this process. And speaking of which, speaking of AI, you've been getting my text messages. It's getting weird, right? On how realistic
the last 3 that you sent looked really good. The first one you kind of tell a little bit, but the second 2 were spot on.
I'm getting better. I've been using Midjourney, friends, for visual image generation, and I have to say it's way too much fun, and it's getting weird in regards to how realistic I can make it look. And if I'm not doing AI stuff for work, I'm injecting my dog into movie scenes that I like, or television scenes. I did Murray in Band of Brothers. I did Murray in The Life Aquatic. A lot of Murray dressed up in various things. But either way, we have relevant small talk that I don't have to just kill time with this gobbledygook. We are, my pop and I, let me see if I have the right one pulled up. There it is. Brew Day Live tomorrow, because this publishes on a Thursday. Friday, February 9th at 10 a.m. Central. Head on over to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour and join my pop and I as we brew a delicious Kolsch. I didn't divulge that information last episode when we interviewed Owen. I think that was last episode. But either way, the last time we talked about Brew Day Live, I didn't divulge it because I didn't want to give it away, because this month's recipe kit also happens to be a delicious Kolsch, or Cologne Kolsch if you speak English like I do. Well, I cannot wait, James, to get this recipe in people's hands. We did. My dad and I brewed an alt beer, and I still haven't tried it yet, letting it cold crash. And what complements an alt beer on tap better than a delicious Cologne Kolsch? I just say a delicious Dusseldorf Kolsch. No, the Cologne Kolsch. I can't wait to get this bad boy brewed, fermented, and tapped. It's my favorite style. And someone might go, well, Josh, that is pretty normal that you're all Kolsch this, Kolsch that. I forgot to make a screen for it now, so I have to do it in post. So right now, bing! Kolsch Cup 2024 is also happening on April 11th through the 13th. That is the tentative date. That's what we're planning on. With Todd already put in his calendar. James, you already said it's good for you as well. So right now, April 11th through the 13th. Go register. If you're listening to this, registration is live. We're only taking 40 entrants like we have in the past. All the information is at kolschcup.com, and I'll try to make it on the front page as well at homebrewhappyhour.com if you don't know how to spell Kolsch, KOLSCHCUP.com. I am so excited, James, because nobody is on to my master plan that we're getting people from around the country to send us free Kolsch. Like,
yeah.
Speaking of AI, we are living in a simulation that is designed for my entertainment and pleasure. I have told people that many a times, mostly my wife, because she's like, why? Things just work out. I'm like, I know, it's stupid. But no, but we are Kolsch Cup. The Alt Pokal was a blast. All these kinds of competitions we're hosting are fun, not just because of the tasting the beer, but because of the getting to experience the effort our audience puts into their beer is one of my favorite things to do, dude. It's we've gotten some phenomenal beer sent to us, so that's a perk. And then also, I just get to spend Todd's money on stupid big trophies and T-shirts and ribbons and stuff like Todd. The first time we did it, I pitched it to Todd in a, I guess, unrealistic way. I was like, "Oh, Todd, dude, people will pay and it'll pay for itself, man." And he was like, "Yeah, but you got to get something out to the winner." It's like, "Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so I'll do that." And people should probably get T-shirts. Yeah, oh yeah, we'll do that. It doesn't make any money, which is fine. We're fine. We're not hurting, guys. We're not hurting. I mean, I'll give you my personal PayPal right here, or the QR code if you want to send me money. But we're not hurting. We're doing good. But it is now finally where it is a wash. It does pay for itself. But that's okay, because the cool shirts that we get to make, and like I said, the stupidly oversized trophy. And I do think Todd wants to send out the top 3 Kolsch Stanges, because we did just get those back in as well. We have a huge amount of boxes full of the Kolsch glasses. Look there on James's screen. I am so happy. I'm so happy. I am so happy with how they turned out. You now you just got to take it home and drink out. What you know what I say that you have nothing on tap. You left the breakfast out at the office to have it on there. You have nothing on tap. Is anything fermenting?
Nope. Nothing.
Nothing. Wait, but what?
But I will tell you this. I was at. I know I need to wrap up the small talk, but I was at a Specs in Killeen, and there was a guy there that was looking for a Kolsch, and he listened to our podcast.
Shut up.
He did. Yeah. No, he did. because he looked at me weird when I started talking to him about I was telling him that normally they would carry Faru, but I didn't see it there, and I told him what I liked about it and the equivalent in the American brands, and he just kept looking at me more weird and weird. And he's like, and Julie was like, "Oh, he has a podcast. He's very proud." No, she didn't say that. But he was kind of, and that's when I mentioned that
the name of our show.
Yeah. But I thought that was cool.
That's when he admitted he listened. I'm saying, like, she threw you under the bus.
Yeah. Anybody that's really looking for Kolsch has got to be listening to the podcast, because that's kind of our shtick.
Absolutely.
They had was it Reinsdorf?
Reisdorf.
Kolsch? Reisdorf.
Yep.
In the warm area, and I got a 4-pack because it comes in 4-packs, like $10.
Yep. Yeah.
Really good. It's not as good as Peter's or Fru, but
yeah.
We got to Julie's house and I actually poured her one I brought her one of these.
Yes. Perfect. Yeah.
And poured her, and she really, really liked it. So I think I've converted another person to Kolsch. So
which is so funny. So we do a weekly call with our German counterparts at CMB Schankenlagen, cmbecker.eu. I do not bring up Kolsch to Stefan specifically because I don't want him to get angry. Like the very first time I ever met him, I don't know if you remember this. There's a soundbite somewhere I could clip. Todd called in when he was over there. I don't think you were on that trip. You might have been, though, because you've been on most trips Todd takes to headquarters over there. You're on. There was only one time you weren't that I know of, and it was when I went. But most of the time you are. So you might have been there. But he had called into the show and had Claudia and Stefan just say hi. And the only thing I think Stefan told me was, Kolsch is not beer. Alt is the only beer. And ever since then, and back then I hadn't had Kolsch yet. And I was like, yeah, screw Kolsch. Who cares about them? And then Todd took me over there to Cologne. I had Peter's Kolsch. Well, first I had Fru, and I was like, oh, what? No, this is beer. No, Stefan was wrong. This is beer. And then he took me to all the other places. And like you said, my favorite's absolutely Peter Kolsch. We can't get it here. My absolute favorite. Dom is up there. I think it goes Peter's Kolsch, Fru, Dom for me.
I would believe that.
Yeah, but you can't go wrong. And same with Dusseldorf and the Alt. There's not been a brewery y'all have taken me to where I go, I never want to go there again. They're all mind-blowingly good. Mm-hmm. But anyways, so if you want to brew this delicious Kolsch, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Join a recipe receiving tier. You'll get access to the posts I make about these. You go in the comments, you tell me how you want your grains, and then the last Monday of the month, I ship it out to you. So super easy. Thank you to our sponsors, Munton's Malt, for providing lager malt, hopsdirect.com for providing the Hallertau Mittelfru, and of course, our good friends at Imperial Yeast for providing the best strain of Kolsch yeast in the world, Dieter. And you've actually, I think, used Dieter for Alt and had good results as well.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we didn't have any, what is the Alt? Kaiser. So we were out of that, and I used it, and it produced a really good Alt beer.
Yeah, dude. Their stuff is the real deal. And like I said, we appreciate all of our sponsors. And again, go to kolschcup.com. And if you want to learn more or sign up, 40 spots. People who are in our patreon.com/homebrew happy hour chub club do get reduced half price admission into the thing. I believe it's $40 for everyone else. So if you're in the Chub Club at any level, pardon me, no, we did change that. Or did we get rid of the $1 level? Just go to the page for details. I think just anyone who's in the $10 or up gets half price, which would then make it $20. So you save yourself some money, and you get to be a part of the contest. We live stream it, or now that Todd has unreliable internet, we might do what we did with the Alt Pokal and just record it, and then I'll publish it after that. But anyways, go to kolschcup.com. And then again, the Brew Day Live, me and my pop, speaking of bad internet, that should be resolved. So go to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour on Friday, February 9th at 10 a.m. Central. Come hang out with us. We're for sure brewing. I might be griddling. I lent my dad my portable one, so I don't know if I'll remember to tell him to bring it, because if he doesn't, then we're not going to be griddling. But either way, all that fun stuff. With all that being said, James, I do have a relatively packed show, but before we get to the questions,
it's time for listener feedback.
We've got voicemail listener feedback, and it's from our good buddy Robert from Colorado with some feedback on hop teas.
Hi, guys. This is Robert calling from Colorado. You're all doing a great job, especially Joshua, with the podcast, and I wanted to add a little to the answer to Joe's question about hop teas from episode 363. James and Todd nailed it by suggesting Joe should start by following the recipe's hop addition timing. Then he can see how that approach worked, and if it's needed, adjust the process for the next batch. I'll offer another option for Joe, and that is skip the hop tea and use one of the commercially available hop extracts that he should be able to find at his local homebrew store or his favorite online source. These extracts provide predictable IBU levels based on the amount of extract he adds. Now, if you have the time, here are a few more thoughts. If Joe decides to make a hop tea, there are other considerations since he's using water instead of wort. In addition to IBUs increasing with boil time, hop utilization increases with increasing wort pH. So with the higher pH of water than wort, he should expect more IBUs for the same boil time. Also, since hop utilization increases with decreasing wort gravity, boiling hops and water should also increase the IBUs. Then, like everyone, he should consider the age of his hops, since the alpha acid concentration of the hops and the resulting iso-alpha acid concentration in the wort decreases as his hops age. I'll also offer one more variable that I deal with each brew day. Since I brew at an altitude of 9,800 feet, the boiling point of water here, and likewise of wort, is about 194 degrees Fahrenheit or 90 degrees centigrade. At this temperature, the isomerization rate is about half that at sea level. So for the same hop addition timing, I need to double the quantity of hops for each addition to reach the recipe's target IBUs. With all these variables, it's nice to know that there's a spreadsheet that considers these. Check out Peter Novotny's article, Hops Revisiting the IBU, in the March and April 2018 edition of Zymurgy. His spreadsheet also calculates IBU. If you don't have access to the Zymurgy database, you can fix that problem by joining the American Homebrewers Association. But in any case, you can download that spreadsheet at www.diversity.beer. So if you made it this far, thanks for listening. I look forward to each new episode. All for now. Cheers, Robert.
I literally say that same thing in my head when we get to like the 40th minute. I'm like, if they're still listening, thanks for sticking around. Thank you, Robert. That was a lot of great info. And it's
boy, talk about a hop expert.
I was gonna say, as I was listening to it before deciding to put it on the show, I was like, golly, man, we have some brainiacs in our audience, people who know what they're doing. And he is right. There's
impressive.
There is a lot of variables on this stuff. That's why I appreciate when we take questions that we have an audience willing to give us their perspective, because there's no way, dude, not saying there's no way we can't know this info, but we don't brew at altitude at all. That's never been a consideration for anything I've ever done with brewing. Like Robert's, think the Colorado Springs area. Either way, Colorado's up there. Like that when your boiling point, like if I was starting to boil at 190, I would think that my calibration needs adjusting on the thermal well, or on my stuff's not like, no, it can't possibly be boiling at this. But either way, Robert, thank you so much for the info. A reminder before we do.
That was great.
It was so good. And reminder, when you call with feedback to 325-305-6107, and I play it on a future episode, you get yourself a $25 gift card, much like when you use that same hotline. But leave us a question that you'd like us to address, which we are getting low again. It's that time where I go, hey, I use a ton of voicemails with Owen, and granted, they were specifically about yeast, and that's what we were going for. But a lot of y'all did call in just for that. I think I've got maybe 11 voicemails in the bank right now, and we average maybe like one every other day tops, but a lot of the times a repeat. But anyway, call 325-305-6107. Leave us a voicemail. Get yourself a $25 gift card. Like our first question of the day, it's our buddy Joe from Philly.
Hi, Josh and crew. This is Joe from Philadelphia. Question about cold side oxidation. I have not yet mastered the technique of closed transfers. I still do open transfers and like to make hazy IPAs, so I worry about oxidation pickup from the transfer. So I was wondering if I put a little bit of priming sugar in the keg and do an open transfer and then let it sit at room temp for a couple of days, will the secondary fermentation scrub out the oxygen, or should I be worried about DMS at that point? Thanks again. Love the show. You guys rock.
Couple things before we get to the question. One, Google always transcribes stuff so funny, right? Like you and Todd have noticed that when I send you all the questions, because I just take it from the Google voice inbox and I paste it. When I first read his at the end, it put a question mark. So I was going to read it like Ron Burgundy. Love the show. You guys rock. But also secondly, Todd let me know recently how bad it annoys him that I say the first one's Joe from Philly, because everyone then says, hey guys, Joe from Philly. He's like, Josh, you don't have to say it. It's redundant. So now it's all I'm going to do is keep doing what I'm doing because I know it bothers Todd. It's a great question. His premise, he's basically keg conditioning, right, to generate some CO2 to have it at that point purge any oxygen out that way. Now, what do you think in regards to cold side oxidation? If you're going to continue doing open transferring, what are some best practices? And then we can kind of segue it into why if he's using the keg or whatever, maybe just go ahead and start, getting the stuff to do a closed transfer.
Well, I wouldn't worry about any of that primary sugar and letting it set. I just purge the keg or the secondary fermenter with some CO2 and be careful, and you should be fine. Because what it'll do is it'll put a blanket of CO2 inside that vessel. So anything coming out of that transfer tube is going to hit the CO2, and it won't. I did that for years.
Yep.
And had really good results. It's when you splash and you're not paying attention to how you want to look at how easy it's flowing into the other, whether it be a secondary fermenter or a keg. Just take a look at it. What I used to do is I would put the tube against the wall of the fermenter or the keg. That way we have good Cody would say laminar flow coming off that hose. So it's just there's no turbulence. So if you create turbulence when you're transferring, that's where you pick up oxidation. So, and typically I do lots of lagers, and you don't see a lot of DMS in ales that are at room temperature because it eats it up anyway. It's only when you get into cold fermentation where the DMS can build up into the wort. It can be consumed with the yeast as long as there's sugars left over. So if you do an open transfer and it's at terminal gravity, or final, I shouldn't say terminal, but final gravity. I'll get it right one of these days. But once it's finished and there's no sugar left in the beer, there's nothing for the yeast to eat. The DMS is just going to sit there. It has to be consumed by the yeast for it to go away. But I've only run into that with lagers. I don't run into anything that's room temp fermented, or you could even say 68 and up. It's not really an issue. It's only an issue with specific lager strains of yeast too. And you can look at those. You can look at the back or go to the website, and it will give you the traits of that yeast. So if it's especially prone to DMS, it will say that. If it's powdery, it'll say that too. So the best information on yeast is by the manufacturer's website. Just follow that. And then just purge your fermenter or your keg with some CO2. Do your transfer. Be careful. Make sure you've got good, smooth flow coming into that receiving vessel, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, and
don't overthink it.
And to make it painfully clear too, because my dad and I, until mid to late 2022, we were doing open transfer into secondaries, into kegs. And what James means by purge, it doesn't have to be closed lid. You can open lid, the gas disconnect on the gas post, and you open it up, and obviously you're going to hear it and feel it escaping the keg. That is purging it. That is purging it out of there. And then, your auto siphon tube, like what my pop and I would have it in the fermenter or in the secondary carboy, whatever, and a long enough tube that could go down to the bottom of the keg. Ideally, that even though you're on the wall of it, you still want it as to the bottom of the keg as possible, right? Or whatever you're transferring to.
Well, as long as you have nice, smooth flow to the bottom and you don't see bubbles, that's the biggest giveaway. If you see any kind of bubbles, you've got turbulence. Turbulence equals room air, and turbulence in whatever vessel you're moving the beer into can cause oxidation. So just be real careful. I always put the tube from the racking cane against the side wall of the fermenter or the keg, like I said earlier, and it seems to work fine. But I always purge everything before I do the transfer, and I think that's the most important thing.
And not
is if you remove that room air that has oxygen and nitrogen in it with CO2, you're not going to have oxidation because there's nothing in there to oxidize.
Exactly, and if you're using a siphon tube, even if you're not taking it to the bottom, you're still sterilizing that, or is that much ado about nothing?
Everything is sanitized. I mean, but that goes without saying.
It has nothing to do with oxidation.
If you're not doing that and you're brewing beer, then you've got other issues.
Then it might be your first rodeo. The only batch my pop and I ever had oxidation issues, it was my fault, and I don't even know why he wasn't there, because it was in his game room. You've been there before, and it was an ESB, and I'm an idiot. I must have been on my phone, like trying to pose for Instagram, like, watch me guys. I was splashing. From the top of into the carboy, I was splashing bad. The tube is like halfway down there, and it was just, and I didn't realize it until it's too late. And I was like, oh, maybe it won't matter. No, it mattered. It was kind of a cardboardy ESB. It wasn't the best. So, but again, like you said, if you have good flow and everything's clean and all that, life is good. And like you said, the purging beforehand of the vessel. Todd uses secondary glass carboys all the time, and I get terrified because glass isn't supposed to be pressurized, but he's purging it with like 1 to 2 psi, and it's totally safe. And you can, he's adding the air down there, and you can hear it coming up. And he's doing that again because you don't want to have a successful brew day. You hit your numbers, everything looks good, fermentation went great, and you're about to go to secondary or to the keg, and you screw it all up because you splashed, or you didn't purge, or whatever. The little steps you can do. If he already has a keg, then we know for a fact he can already purge. We like the vessel itself. But as all that being said, if you can, James, you would still advocate for getting the stuff or doing the steps to close transfer for the sake of eliminating factors, or do you think it sits one way, have it as in the other?
Well, so you can overthink anything. So I think as long as you just follow the basics, open transfer is just fine. But if you get to the point where you can have a fermenter, you can put under pressure, you could move the fluid without touching it from the fermenter into the keg or whatever, then that's helpful. But if you're just careful and you pay attention to what you're doing and you purge your container with CO2, you should be just fine.
Absolutely. Joe, thank you so much for submitting that question. If you're watching at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, or if you're listening to the show on your favorite podcast app and you do open transfers with making hazy IPAs, or if you can just relate or have any kind of knowledge or wisdom you can impart to us, call our feedback hotline at 325-305-6107. Leave that voicemail, and if it's good enough, and if you suck up enough, I will use it on a future episode, and you get yourself a $25 gift card, or call that same hotline like Joe did and leave a question for a future show, because again, I'm getting desperate. We also get yourself a $25 gift card. However, if you're like, Josh, I don't like the sound of my voice, or I don't really want to talk to you, or $25 doesn't sound appealing, I just want $15, you can text that same hotline, like our second question, our buddy Luke from Selma, and he wrote in, Joshua, this is Luke from Selma, just down the road. I'm new to kegging. My first corny keg is halfway empty and has been on tap since Christmas time. Will the amount of beer I have left in the keg affect how long beer stays good? About how long does kegged beer stay good for? I'll let you know the next time I'm at Zealots in your neck of the woods. Great podcast. Luke, he is right down the road from me. Zealots is a craft beer bar here in San Marcos that is very popular. It's like outdoor setting. Next time you come, I don't know the last time you've been to San Marcos. It was, God, that was forever ago. We went to the Oyster Bar. And
yeah, is that the same club as the homebrew club, the Austin Zealots?
No. Yeah, my impediment. Zealots is the club, Zealots. I'm trying to say Zelick with an S, so it's Zelick apostrophe S.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a long time ago. One of the not maybe it was a gas station, but it was like an oil change type station in the right off the square of downtown San Marcos. And then stood vacant forever. And then these people came in. These people are the ones who own the bakery I take my kids to all the time. They own a pizza shop. They're very successful people. But either way, it's Luke. Yeah, let me know next time you're in town. But his question is a good one because I think it is a variable, or I think there's a lot of variables rather, as in Todd and I just published a video at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour of us taste testing 3 generations of me and my dad's breakfast stout, and then also a current founder's breakfast stout. We had a taste. It was really just us getting smashed, but we recorded it. And that I asked, I think Todd, what makes it a style? What makes breakfast stout a style that ages well? Because you wouldn't age a Kolsch, I wouldn't think, right? Like you're gonna, or an IPA specifically. That is 100%. We know that.
You definitely lose hop aroma and flavors over time.
Would you conflate like an IPA? You lose the you lose the bittering, you lose the aroma over time. Is that the same as the beer going bad? Or is there literally a shelf life where a beer gets spoiled? Or what are the things that can make a beer get spoiled? I imagine contaminants have to be introduced. It's not going to get spoiled if it's airtight, sealed in this vessel, right? Spoiled probably won't happen for a very long time. But what are your thoughts on beer in the keg? How long it can theoretically last? Because in our, between the three of us, it doesn't typically last that long unless it's a boozy beer like the breakfast stout.
Mm-hmm. 4 to 6 months is the general rule for homebrew beer. There's lots of other factors that can determine whether that's the case or not. But all things being equal, and it's cold and it's under CO2 gas. Now, people out there listening to this are probably saying, James, you're full of you know what, because it's not pasteurized.
Right.
So pasteurization makes beer last longer, but I think a lot of that has to do with beer at room temperature, packaged in cans and kegs and all of that. But it's been my experience that I don't know if I've ever I have some of your breakfast stout in my kegerator. I think there's probably about a gallon left of it from 2 years ago. So I need to pull that up and tap it and see what it's, because I think over time it can start to break down a little bit. The darker roasted ones tend to last better because some of those guys like the Kentucky bourbon stouts, they age them in whiskey barrels for a year?
Yep.
So what does that mean? Does that mean surely it's just uncarbonated setting and conditioning in a whiskey barrel? And then when it gets kegged, I'm assuming they're carbonating it then. So I think if you're talking about a light lager or a Kolsch, I think the lighter with the less roasted malt, the more you're going to notice the taste changing over time. So I would just say, I don't personally, other than the breakfast stout, because that's not a session beer. That's something that,
yeah,
especially when they're boozy,
yeah,
you just want one glass, so they go a lot longer than like a session or like a Kolsch. I have never had a Kolsch or anything light, easy drinking set in my kegerator for 4 months.
No.
And if it's set in 4 months, there's probably something wrong with it. But that's a different deal with a breakfast stout because that's a big beer.
Yeah.
A lot going on. It's like a meal in a glass. So
Yeah, I do. I'll say, yeah, no, I like that. Thank you. I didn't want to step on toes because I was like, when we did the interview with Owen, I love him, but he put you guys, I can't relate. Y'all put so much thought into your answers, and I have a tendency, I get the feedback online. We're like, Josh, you're stepping over people. And so when I think y'all might still be talking, I'm like, I'm ready to jump, because some people, my wife, accuse me of listening to talk, not listening to hear, or hearing to, or yeah.
That's such a teacher answer.
Isn't it? Yeah. Oh, she doesn't watch this show. Let's throw her under the bus. Anyway, but no, so we had a 2021 breakfast stout, a 2022 breakfast stout, and then the 2023. The 2021, like you said, it still tasted good. I would not use the word bad because bad implies spoiled, but the aroma was non-existent. It vanished. 2 years. Duh. That made sense. The aroma was not there, and it kind of was a dull taste compared to the 2022 and 23. It wasn't like,
so
it's like
I would use the word muted.
Muted is much better. Yeah, it was
because everything kind of slowly evaporates away.
That's what exactly where it was. It's still the coffee was, yeah, muted is the best word. Yeah, because like in the 2022 even, it was like present, but it almost was more balanced. In the 2023, the coffee's very punchy in the face, which again, the style, when you open a Founder's Breakfast Stout, that's what you're getting, right? Right off the top, you're getting that Kona coffee, just, and not in an offensive way, in a very delicious and smooth way.
Oh, it's a gorgeous looking beer. It's delicious, and so is yours. In fact,
thank you.
We had a brewer come in the other day to pick up some. They're just opening up. I cannot believe Comanche has a brewery now, but they're kind of buttering that up to get ready to go. And they were talking about, he was drafting a stout. I think they kind of over-carbonated it because he said it was really hard to draft. And I showed him yours. And more importantly, I poured a glass. It poured perfect. I gave him a taste. And I love watching people's expression when they really like something, and he really did like it.
Oh, man.
And I'm thinking that he probably was thinking it was better than his.
Well. And I would love to take credit. If anyone watched that, or no, we didn't stream that brew day. The brew day we streamed or tried to stream was an alt beer. My dad did all the work, is what I'm getting at. So Pop, there you go. Congrats to you. And really Lorena came up with the recipe. We've barely tweaked it. And by tweaked it, I mean the coffee that we determined that we decide to use every year is about one of the only things we tweak, because the original recipe, I believe, calls for Kona. Well,
I thought it was Kona and Sumatra both.
I think you're right. No, I think you're right. Yeah, one is in the boil, and then one is in the at point of packaging. Or pardon me, one's in secondary. You dry hop, or you add them in during boil, and then you actually there's three. I think there's 3 coffee additions. I have to pull up the recipe now. I'm talking out of my butt. But anyway, there's a lot of reasons why the recipe goes good, and I'm like a 5% reason that batch turns out good. But it's nice to hear that he liked it. I know Todd gave, not grief, but he was like, it's so funny. You always say you don't like hoppy beers, and this is a hoppy beer. And I was like, it is. It is kind of, it is, the way we brew it is kind of hop forward, in the bitterness that is. But I think the recipe and I think the style benefits from that, because it balances the maltiness that is there.
Yeah, and the
coffee.
It's malty, sweet, big-bodied. All of that can help. The hops can help kind of balance the beer out.
That's my thought process too. It's not. Yeah, it's definitely not a triple hazy, like a juice bomb. It's not juicy, but what hoppy isn't. Yeah, it's bitter. It is there. But I do like it. And like you said though, that's the only style I can think of my Pop and I have that last over a year in our kegerator, and it's one of the ones that it doesn't get. I will say this: I hope Todd and I go through the 2021 that I've left in his place, because I don't think an extra year is going to benefit it. I think it's I think that 2.5, year mark of existing in a keg is about as long as I want a breakfast stout existing in a keg, because it got all my favorite things about pouring a breakfast stout were muted, as you said. They weren't as it left me wanting a little bit more. The color was perfect, carbonation was great, but it's just if I had that at like a festival or something, I'd be pissed. I paid $9 or whatever the pour would cost. I'd be like, it is a breakfast stout, but it's missing something, as in life. But anyways, Luke from Selma, thank you so much for submitting that question. A final reminder, when you text 325-305-6107, or you write in using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com, you get yourself a $15 gift card. But even better, hear me out. Call 325-305-6107. Leave a voicemail. Suck up to me again, and I will play that on a future episode, and you get yourself a $25 gift card to keggconnection.com. Like our third and final question of the show, it's our buddy Nate from Oregon.
Hey guys, it's Nate from Oregon. I was listening to your last episode talking about the new Topo Chico mineral kits, which sound pretty cool. I was wondering if you guys have used that yet with RO to ferment a hard seltzer yet. I tried the ready packaged hard seltzer from Topo Chico, and it's actually pretty good. Just wondering if this would be a good idea. If you've tried it, let me know. See you guys. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.
Hold on. Let me turn my hat around. Salesman Josh, real quick. Go to keggconnection.com. Look on the homepage right there. Boom. For only $5.95, you too can take home a Topo clone mineral water kit. It's all the minerals you need when you're using RO water to replicate exactly the favorite popular Topo Chico. For $5.95, we get you the minerals out for a 5-gallon batch. I think it's a heck of a deal. And I think people think that is too, because James, we have sold a crap ton. That is isn't it wild how many we've sold? I mean, it actually has blown Todd's mind, which I always appreciate, because he always has ideas, and sometimes I don't think they're great. And when they're not great and they fail, I can't rub it in his face because he's actually mad. And this was my idea, and I was like, let's do it, because Todd has been making Topo Chico clone for 3 years, right about right. At least since COVID. I mean, at least, like, maybe not before COVID, but like during that pandemic when he was brewing a ton and experimenting with stuff. I think that actually might be when it was. It was like May or June of 2020. He's been doing it a while. I still have the first baggie he sent me home that looks like drugs, because I thought, I'm gonna get busted with this by Mills County Sheriff's Department, and I'm gonna have to explain. I promise you, this is not cocaine. Here, snort it. It's mainly gypsum in the. It's actually 8 or 9. It is 8. It's 8 various minerals, and it's all open info. You can go to homebrewhappyhour.com, friends, and click on the recipe section. We give you the breakdown of exactly the parts per million or whatever it is, parts per gallon, whatever, to make your own at home. We just decided to make this conveniently packaged thing that we could ship out to you, because a lot of people don't want to buy all the minerals and then weigh it out like they are a drug dealer. I can tell you from experience, from doing like the first 20 baggies, it's not fun unless you're into cosplaying as a drug dealer, which if this Keg Connection thing doesn't work out, I'll hit up some drug dealers, say, listen, I know how to bag and vacuum seal hops. I know how to bag white powder. I can get this done for you. Let's work together. But either way, where I'm going with all of this is I really am proud of the kit, because people who like Topo Chico, which there are thousands, if not millions of people out there who do, have reported back to us, dozens, not quite that many people, that they've reported back and go, oh my God, you're right. It is like spot on. I made the 5-gallon batch. I'm serving it, or I carbonated at 40. I'm serving it at 40, and it is dead on. So it's really cool to get that feedback. To answer Nate's question, I know, James, you've never made a hard seltzer. And
this is definitely your department.
My pop and I have, and I'm saying that with an asterisk, like a Barry Bonds home run record. We don't ferment sugar water because we're lazy and that takes too much time. Even better, Nate from Oregon, hear me out. Maybe I can get the dilution chart my dad did by the time I publish this and put it in the show notes. I'll make that guarantee. I'll call him after this. My pop had a chart that he used to where he mates the sparkling water to like 3 gallons, And then he adds I think it's a 3 gallon of sparkling Topo Chico water to 4 liters or 3 liters of a vodka of his choice. And then we let it sit for a day, get all real cold, and boom, it is almost spot on to your favorite hard seltzers you're drinking. We served it at a wedding, what do you call it? Wedding shower. A wedding shower my parents hosted was the first time we did it. Huge hit. White women loved it. There's a 1-star review for us. But they loved it. They had their wide brim fedora hats and their fake leather feather looking earrings, and they were in Fredericksburg, and then they came over and they loved it. And actually everyone loved it. And my dad's typically had it on tap for most family gatherings. And it's the same thing every time. Every now and then he will add actual limes to it or whatever. But most of the time he either gets a flavored vodka or a neutral vodka, and he just puts sliced up lemons and limes on the counter, and you can dress it however you want. So it's just a standard old hard seltzer, original, unflavored, whatever they used to call it. And then you dress it yourself. But I do know, James, people are into the whole artisan side of this. Like, no, I'm gonna make it from scratch. Would you you may not know, and I'm not trying to put you Johnny on the spot, but hard seltzer is just fermented sugar water, right? There would be, if you're trying to make it from scratch, there's nothing more than that. Because we've never done that. We've always just diluted vodka into sparkling water and then carbonated all of it and served it that way. Wouldn't hard seltzer from scratch just be fermented sugar water, or am I missing something? It would,
I
right?
don't know.
This is where we solicit people at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour in the comments below. If you've made a hard seltzer, let us know the process. I do remember Imperial had a strain that they kind of pushed. I think it was called Bubbles, where they're like, oh, it'd be perfect for cider. It'd be perfect for hard seltzer, this and that. I should have asked Owen more directly to explain how people make hard seltzer. Because again, when we looked it up online, almost everybody, the first time we looked up, was like, don't waste your time trying to ferment this or that and all the variables. Just make it diluted. It's like when, craft bars in New York or any bar serving pre-mixed old fashions, or the bar that y'all just did the install in Comanche with their margarita, which he made it for. Todd and I went there after work a few weeks ago, or last time I was up there. And not the one that where all 3 of us went, but he and I, like the next day, because the margarita keg had frozen. And so he was like, hey, on the way home, we got to stop here. And okay, whatever, Todd, that sounds great. So the guy remade it for us, and Todd fixed the problem and all that. But it was actually really good. And I don't like tequila. So I pre-mixing cocktails and putting them in kegs is kind of a whole new window of coolness that's been opened in my life, because I would never have thought. I would think, oh yeah, I know your cocktail, you make it at the time or whatever. And I would think in my head, oh, if you pre-mix it, that's just going to make it taste worse. No, it actually was pretty good. And like I said, the hard seltzer, no, it tastes good every pour, and it's much more convenient to dilute vodka into the water than it is to try to ferment sugar water. And again, I'm talking out of my butt because I've never even tried, because it sounds terrible. And that I remind you guys, I don't like doing more than I have to do. That's not a shtick. That's me. But anyways, that's all to say, go to keggedconnection.com and get that Topo clone. Until they send a cease and desist order, we're going to call it Topo clone.
We'll just call it a mineral water packet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I look, okay, is that their logo's colors that I'm using? Sure, maybe. I mean, anyone can use red or yellow. And Topo, that just means, that's just mole, or that's nothing big. That's not, you can't copyright that. But I am holding my breath and waiting for a cease and desist. But anyways,
Yeah.
Nate, thank you so much for submitting the question, Mr. Carlson. That is all I have for this week. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to do the show, because I know you're running headquarters by yourself. But a quick note, I don't know if Todd told you, Lorena, this is coming up the weekend they're going to be up there. I do believe she's going to be there Monday and Tuesday as well. He didn't confirm that with me because he wasn't sure, but I'm going to be up there next week. So hopefully you, me, Lorena, and Todd can get a podcast recorded together. And,
that'd be great.
Talking recipes, talking a bunch of stuff.
I know she's coming in this weekend. I'm not going to be around, but
I'm coming up Monday, and I'm hoping Todd thinks they're staying till Tuesday. So I was like, well, if we're not swamped, let's record it Monday so the four of us, so you, me, and Todd can be on it with her and catch up. Because the last time she came to town, we did it at the ranch, and you weren't of it. You couldn't come out. You were gone, or it was a Sunday, or maybe it was a Saturday. But it was a weekend day that we recorded it, and you weren't able to make it. So. We'll get you with Lorena though. That's the plan. If she won't stay till Tuesday, then I'll throw her under the bus. But anyway, all that to say, I'll see you next week, my friend.
All right.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or even better, hear me out. Go to, call 325-305-6107. Leave yourself a voicemail. And when I play it on a future episode, get yourself a $25 gift card to keggconnection.com. Thank you to our show sponsors like Munton's Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Munton's, give them a try by joining a recipe receiving tier of the Trub Club. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial yeast along with premium recipes from us. Again, when you join the Trub Club, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of the absent Todd Burns, the handsome James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.